Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. And I know set isn't exactly the right terminology, but it's close enough. Okay, we're going to go over blood health, migraines, and stressors. But there's a lot of things. Now, just say that you wanted to change the political climate. I mean, what would you do? You're right. Lock people in their homes, okay, completely take away their livelihood, give them no definite end date, leave the gun stores and liquor stores open, close the churches, open the prisons, okay, and then have a massive violent act, okay, that's heinous, that's on social media. Okay, and then you can have a riot. Okay, and that's what we had. Now, the difference between a protest and a riot. A protest is people are expressing their displeasure and their unfairness and the absolute ferocity of the crimes. I mean, this is freaking crazy. Okay, to see a person killed, even though this happens a lot. And it shouldn't happen ever. Because when you're looking at someone, we're all the same. I mean, if you're a third from the planet, you know, you're on this planet in our solar system, we're related. I know, you should be pissed off with Venusians or Martians. No, you know, I mean, we're all related somewhere. Okay, we may have differences of opinion. So an absolute protest to change a completely unfair and illegal system is appropriate. When you start breaking private property and stealing stuff, then that's a riot. That's inappropriate. Now, I'd like to change a couple of words, but I'm not going to. John F. Kennedy's inaugural speech. This is what we have to get back to. Now, the injustices has already been done by our government and people. And I'm not just talking about the riots. I mean quarantining healthy people, taking away your livelihood, not telling you where it's going to come from, crashing the economy. These are injustices. Let's just think about this. We dare not forget today that we are heirs of that first revolution. Let word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans. It starts now. Born in the century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to witness or permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed, and to which we are committed today, at home and around the world. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and success of liberty. This much we pledge and more. Good God. I know, that was a president. Okay, and think of this. This is what we need. We actually need leadership to say, no kidding. This stuff is completely unfair. I mean, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. But the fact that some of these atrocities can occur needs to be corrected. And the atrocities are not just people being beat or killed in police custody. It's your livelihood being taken with absolutely no basis in science. Now, this is causing a stressor. This is the solution for it. Now, the people that are burning and breaking stuff, they're scared and hurt and frustrated. They're not strong, okay? They're scared and hurt. Now, that's going to change your mindset on them. But look at this. Self-kindness. Being kind and understanding towards oneself in instances of pain or failure rather than being harshly self-critical. Okay? We all make mistakes, man. Just you don't need to hurt other people. Common humanity. Perceive everyone's experience as part of a larger human experience rather than seeing them as separate and isolating. If you had somebody in your sights and you realize that that person is a father, a mother, a brother, if you have somebody trying to protect their business and you hit them with a skateboard or a rock, okay, that dehumanized them. What do you think this mask does? It totally dehumanizes you. All you're seeing is eyes. Take the masks off. Mindfulness, holding painful thoughts and feelings in balanced awareness rather than over-identifying with them. Brilliant advice, brilliant advice. We have to get back to normal. Now, there's a letter, and I encourage you to go to Forbes, okay? Great article. 600 physicians are saying that this massive lockdown experiment, which is not based in science, is killing more people than COVID ever could. Okay, even with the crazy numbers that they're coming up with. I mean, think about this. There's 2.8 million people that die every year in America. 2.8 million. That's a lot. But we don't shut anybody down for that. Now, the worst, the thing that's completely dysfunctional, that magnitudes a percentage off, in the Royal College or the College of London said that there were going to be 2 million deaths in America, which is bad. If that was accurate, and we know that not only was it not accurate, it was not accurate by magnitudes. Okay, there were 2 million, maybe 100,000, maybe, if you look at the actual how they're counting it up. So if we say there's going to be double the normal death rates, is that enough? Is that enough to crash the economy, scare everyone, lock them in their house? No. And now we know that it was completely dysfunctional. Suicide hotline calls have increased 600%. 150,000 Americans per month would have had a cancer detection through the screening. That's gone. The number of heart attacks treated in 9 U.S. hospitals dropped by nearly 40%. No kidding. People are afraid to go. Okay, millions of casualties of continued shutdown will be hiding in plain sight. They'll be called alcoholism, homeless, suicide, heart attack, stroke, kidney failure. And I'm going to bring up why this happens under stress. In use, it'll cause financial instability, unemployment, despair, drug addiction, unplanned pregnancies, poverty, abuse. Ending the lockdowns is not about Wall Street. How many times have you heard, if we shut down the economy, we can save one life? No, you're not going to save a life. You might extend it. Okay, but you're not going to save anything. I mean, people will die. You know how you get off the planet? You have to die eventually. Okay, Methuselah, he made it 900 years. Okay, so we cannot, and I love this, disregard for people's lives. It's about saving lives. Ending the lockdown is about saving lives. If one judge out there tells a beauty store owner, oh, you're being selfish, and she says, look, I got to feed my family. I got to keep the business open. That judge needs to be fired. Thank goodness we can vote them out. We cannot let this disease change the U.S. from a free and energetic society to a society of broken down souls dependent on government handouts. She blogged about the huge damage the virus reaction is doing to the fabric of society. I had a call, okay, this past weekend, and it's patients that had a family member that had some type of massive stroke, and they were young, they were under 40. They couldn't go into the hospital for more than 10 minutes the first day, and they couldn't go back. I had not heard of this. I thought, man, if my relative's in the hospital, no, they want you out. They're afraid that you're infective. You're scary. And so they couldn't go in there. And they said, they want to disconnect him. And I said, well, can I go over? No, they won't let you in. And I'm assuming, how do you spell assume? ASS, how do you mean? Okay, I'm assuming that they would at least let the relatives in to their relative that's dying or maybe dying or maybe brain dead, And so I said, look, if you can do this check with a flashlight, do this check, see if you can see a reaction, and then give me a call. And they said, no, we can't do that. We can't go in. I mean, would you want to go to a hospital with that? So this we have to change. How many cases of COVID-19 are preventable by these practices? 0, Dr. Orient. But loss of patient morale, loss of oversight care, especially at night, are incalculable. Now, if we had a leader in this country, and we don't yet, but somebody will actually take the place because the universe hates a vacuum. Other countries had different restrictions. Some had less, some had none, some had more. So we can actually look. Here's a shocker. Some states had different restrictions. Some had less, some had none, some had more. And it turns out that the death rate was actually less in some of these areas. Okay, granted, different population density. But when we're looking, this was the letter they sent out in March to elevate the deaths. There's no other reason a letter like this would go out unless it's to pad the numbers of deaths. Now, you're a physician. You're a physician. You get this note that says any patient that you come in that is probable COVID or likely COVID, these will be followed up with the new ICD-9 code. It's not likely that the National Health Service will follow up on these cases. You're supposed to put now, if it said high blood pressure or influenza or cancer, would you have a problem filling that out? Yeah, because they don't have it. And there's no test. Why are they doing this? Why did they tell everyone this? Then, COVID-19 should be reported on death certificates for all descendants, whether it's caused or assumed to be caused or contributed. Really? Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, so now the effect of stress on human beings, it's brilliant, okay? But this, psychological stress on lipid levels, fat levels, or cholesterol levels, hemoconcentration, and blood viscosity. Now, I just put these two pictures up there. We're going to talk about this patient. But what happens under physical, chemical, or emotional stress, your blood cells start sticking together. And if you've had a long-term stress, you can't break the proteins to amino acids, so you don't have the available building products. So then your blood can't hold good oxygen. If those red blood cells, which should be floating around beautiful, they're biconcave discs that can hold oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, a brilliant design, they start to clump together. They can't work correctly. Now, this means that cholesterol levels go up, blood gets thicker. Now, mast cells, and this is huge. This was an article out of 2018. Don't think it's from today. Although, modern life stresses such as chronic isolation stress, chronic social stress, chronic immobilization stress, and stress at an early age, okay, can exacerbate cognitive dysfunction and the effects of the hippocampus in the brain. And you start looking at this and you think, well, wait a second, this is society now. This is what the expert doctors told us. And now we think, oh my God, wait a second. Under these type of stress responses, the blood starts to clump together. Blood doesn't clot in the arteries, it clumps in the arteries. And now we're looking at COVID as it has a massive problem with the blood. And they're even saying now, oh my gosh, it doesn't look like a regular virus. It looks like a blood disorder, that the blood is not healthy. That's why they're seeing blood clots in the lungs, blood clot in the heart, blood clot in the kidneys, blood clot this. And then you got these bastards that are lying and they're saying it's a multi-organ system failure. No, these people are under stress. The blood sucks, okay? They're in extreme stress and then they get therapies that are completely crazy. Stress conditions activate mast cells. Have you heard of this in this? Of course, these are inflammatory cells. Now we have one of the sickest populations on the planet, but have you ever, now in the last few months, autism epidemic, dementia epidemic, anything? God, I wish I had one of those cricket noise maker things. No, you don't hear about it. You don't hear about the 25 or 35 or 15%, 1 out of 15 population of our kids that has autism. What that is inflammation. It's an inflammatory marker. Now, just look at this one. Seizure activity. Recent evidence increased neural inflammation can contribute to seizures. We hypothesize that brain mast cell activation due to allergic, environmental, or stress triggers lead to focal disruption of the blood-brain barrier, neuroinflammation, developing seizures. So sure enough, under stress, seizures increase. Does that make sense? Okay, so now with calls to suicide hotlines going up 600%, we know that what does the medical world do for stress and suicide and anxiety? Oh, drug! Oh, that's a great idea. Okay, I know the side effect of the antidepressants, say suicide and suicidal thoughts, so that might cause you to have a second thought on that. You know, I got somebody that's sad, unemployed, poor, and stressed, so I know their blood is thick as all hell. If the doctor was smart, he'd say, my God, you got to get out and walk. No, can't walk, park's closed. Okay, well, you got to get some air. No, got to wear this. You know, even though it reduces oxygen, puts me under an oxidative stress, but I got to wear it because everybody will look at me funny if I don't. Okay. So antidepressants combined with nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories linked to brain bleeding risk. The brain is encased in a really cool bone covering. If it starts to bleed in there, the pressure builds up. This is called a stroke. That's bad. Antidepressants and nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories known to be associated with increased gastrointestinal bleeding. Now it's increased intracranial bleeding. So here we got bad blood on the left and still not good blood on the right. And this took about 5 days. Can blood change that quickly? Yeah. If you're dehydrated and you drink and you have appropriate nutrients and you want to take spicy foods, you can open it up. But think about this. Think about this. Look at what blood does. Blood has to filter in through all the joints in order to produce synovial fluid. Blood's got to go through the blood-brain barrier so it can get oxygen to produce the cerebral spinal fluid to nutrify the brain and the spinal cord. I mean, this is what it is. That long stringy stuff there is called rouleau coin formation, where they're starting to clump together. And that can't get into the joints. This is why diabetics have neuropathy. Okay, they can't get healthy joints. And then they lose the sensation of it because that blood is inefficient at doing its job. And the blood next to it is a little bit better, but that's just after some chelation. Now, you can orally chelate, but understand that's a stressor. That means that most of these diseases, okay, have you ever heard of high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, inflammatory bowel disorders, high cholesterol? Have you ever heard of those? Those aren't diseases, those are stress responses, and they're actually intelligent stress responses. Okay, so to drug a stress response without addressing the stress is pretty foolish. Now, under the stress, and this is what the protesters, and the difference between a protester and a rioter is changing the political climate for the better so we all benefit. By God, we got to support them. A rioter is taking advantage of this, harming people. We have to suppress those. Okay, we have to have a free dialogue in this country. But stress functions such as blood pressure, cholesterol, type 2 diabetes. I had a patient today that says, you know, I'm pre-diabetic. And I said, no kidding, I know you are. You're also pre-dead. And you're pre-hypertension. And you're pre-this. It's foolishness. How can we say that these stress responses, even though they're so ridiculously common, that you could have it? No kidding, I'm going to drop a brick on your foot and your heart rate will go up and then I'll diagnose you with high blood pressure. Okay, so this is what we're looking at on a live blood cell analysis. Now, how come medical doctors aren't looking at this? Because they don't utilize live blood cell analysis, most of them. Some of them do. But when you get that vial of blood, they got to mix it with an anticoagulant, so you can't even see what the blood looks like. Okay, membrane integrity. That means that this person is under chronic stress. They can't break the proteins to amino acids, so they have amino acid deficiency. They can't build the membrane, or their immune system is so trashed that the spleen doesn't work. Because this is what the body does. Okay, this is why you kids are going to freaking love this stuff. Okay, the red blood cells last about 120 days. Okay, and each time that one of these babies goes by the spleen looks at it, checks it out, and if it's still viable, it puts it back in circulation. But when it finds one that has a crappy membrane integrity or can't do its job, it sends it over to the liver. The liver breaks it down into the bile salts, and so it can emulsify fats. So nothing is lost. It's brilliant. So membrane integrity means that this person is under chronic stress, or their immune system isn't working right, or the spleen's not working right, or something. Now you got membrane integrity with rouleau coin. That's more chronic. That means that this person, not only do they have chronic stress, but now they're starting to get low oxygen to the brain because this can't filter in. You're starting to get all joint. Gee, I don't know why, doc, but you know, my joints hurt all the time. No kidding. I can understand that. I've seen your blood. You suck. Okay, we can fix you. And then you look at this, poor motility. That means when you first put that drop in there, it's not moving right. How would you like to have that person was alive, by the way? Okay, what was she diagnosed with? Survey says high blood pressure? No kidding, because that stuff can't work. Pressure has to increase in order to get that blood through the kidneys and everything else. It's just common sense. And then you talk to these doctors, what causes high blood pressure? Well, it's unknown. No, it isn't. Open your friggin' eyes. Look at a different test. Learn the autonomic nervous system. Okay, now here's a gal. And what I want to do is that's her x-ray on the right up there. What you're looking at is a reverse curve. What you're seeing right on the edge is some massive dental work. Now, a couple of root canals, you know, we don't know if this is affecting her. What we would do is do a thermography to see if there's an increased metabolic response there and lymph drainage for the face and head, and pulmonary areas drained to the upper right. So if we see a hot spot there, then we know this is negatively affecting. But what are you looking at? You're looking at a reverse curve causing spinal stenosis with degeneration consistent of a 20-year and a chemical stressor possibly inside of the mouth. Does that physical, chemical, maybe emotional stress because her body, she's young and it's hurting? Yeah, that was her blood up top. Okay, a few days later, that's her blood on the bottom. Okay, so when we're talking about headaches, you got this little 2.5-pound brain, and it burns 30% of the body's calories, 20% of the body's oxygen. It's super important. But what kind of population do we have? Okay, you know, you talk about, oh, it's coming through our population. Really? With 99.9% of everybody that dies from this has a comorbid condition. Okay? And you have a 99.7% chance of living if you catch it. So it's the comorbid conditions. Why is it affecting our public so much? This is given to you by the CDC, the National Institute of Health and Health and Human Services, the people who are responsible for your health. They're the ones doing this. 60% of our adult population have a chronic illness or disease they will never get over. Why? Because it's treated with drugs. You got high blood pressure, we give you a drug to lower it. You got high cholesterol, you get another drug to lower it. Oh, side effects of that? Don't worry about it. You know, your blood test looks good. I know you feel like crap, but your blood test looks great. Honest to God, 54% of our kids got a chronic illness or injury. 50% of us are going to get cancer. How would you like to get a virus in this population? Heck, let's call it the flu. Last year, what did it kill? 90,000 people? Okay, and nobody got shut down? So, this is 2014. High blood pressure, stroke, cancer, arthritis, weak and failing kidneys. Does this sound like you got, figure a kidney, size of your fist, every 20 minutes, 6 quarts of blood got to go through it. Okay? How would you like to pump thick, crappy blood through it? Do you think there'd be kidney damage? Absolutely. The functional unit of the kidney is a nephron, and it's a little tiny loop of Henry in there that all this stuff's got to fit through, and those blood cells are going to damage it. They're not healthy. Now, I love this title of this article. De-prescribing on a Medscape article. De-prescribing. You might say, huh? Because I did. Okay. De-prescribing. It turns out that cholinergic drugs, okay, and people who are 55 and older, if they use a drug for more than 3 years, your risk of dementia increases 50%. Okay. How'd you like to take it for 10? I don't know. It sounds pretty bad. Now, this is gastrointestinal disorders, asthma, dizziness, motion sickness. That's what they're prescribed. Would you want to take one? No. How about Nitol, Excedrin PM, Tylenol PM, Sominex, Benadryl? Knowing that our population has a massive, massive allergy and asthma. I mean, just exponentially horrible. Now, these block neurotransmitters leading to brain damage, okay? You know, I think this makes sense, though. A lot of this stuff is brain damage, and it's, you know, maybe that's what our politicians are suffering. Medications induced mitochondrial damage. Okay, it's the only, I'm looking for an out for them. I can't just say, look, they're completely ignorant or evil, okay? And ignorance is best hope. So I'm hoping it's drug-induced ignorance, because that way at least we save the people that elected them. Okay, so medication-induced mitochondrial damage. Medication-induced mitochondrial, what could this cause? Parkinson's, chronic fatigue, hepatitis, cirrhosis. And so, bottom line, we're talking about blood health, headaches, and migraines, okay? Thinking that brain literally uses 20% of your entire body's oxygen, that little 2.5 pound brain. It's really important to have a healthy brain. And it's bad to take stuff that damages the brain. Am I going too fast? I mean, it's just like, okay, that makes sense. So the stuff that helps your brain, movement, and I'm talking symmetrical movement, that gets good stimulation of the cerebellum and causes neuroplasticity. Healthy fats. Just had a patient today that had her gallbladder removed, and I said, did the doctor tell you to increase your fat? No, they told me to decrease. Okay, and that's typical advice, even though now you got the bile acids that are just slowly leaching in and dropping into the duodenum without any control whatsoever. So duodenal ulcers go through the roof, but you can't break the fatty acids or the fats to fatty acids to get the raw materials for hormones. So healthy fats, important. Mental exercises, important. Plant-based diet, deep sleep, all of this makes sense. So what kind of stuff breaks it down? And we already know isolation, anxiety, and stress breaks the brain down because it can't get the oxygen. Vaccines, medications, MSG, glyphosates, pesticides, Purell, sunscreen. One of our patients went to the store and they says, they brushed against a guy who had a face mask, goggles, sunglasses, hat, and gloves. And after it touched her, and we're talking, the smallest person on our staff, she is not that scary. Okay, but he goes in there and Purells his gloves. I was like, oh, dude, okay. So 2 to 3 pound brain, 73% water. Do you think that we're hydrated well now or poorly hydrated? No. So what's the number one cause of headaches? Okay, dehydration, nutrient deficiency. But also, it's actually coming from the neck. Okay, so 93% of the time. So if somebody says, hey man, I got a headache, and I think, okay, good. Well, where is it? Describe it. And I'll show you how to identify it. But you're talking very few come from tumors. You're talking 1/10 of 1%. Now, when we look at this is a normal side view of the neck, since 93% of all headaches come from the neck. I actually think it's more than that. And the person on the right there has got a reverse curve, degeneration, but also look at the heavy metal toxicities inside of the mouth. So you're looking at physical, chemical, and emotional stress. And that's at least 15 to 20 years of damage in the neck. Hey, what kind of response would your body get if you had stress, physical stress for 20 years? What would your blood pressure be like? Good or high? No problem. We can give you a drug to lower it. Okay, what would your cholesterol levels be like? Good or high? No problem. Drop that cholesterol down too. Okay, you're going to need a little bit more blood sugar because you're in a stressed state. Can you see how crazy this is? No one's asking her about her history. No one's looking at this. No, we got to change that. Migraines linked to heavy metals. That's where we look at the dental stuff. Cadmium, iron, manganese, lead, absolutely elevated. But also what's low? The good stuff, the stuff we need. Magnesium, zinc, copper. And why? Because you need healthy acids or a healthy stomach acid to absorb the minerals. Now, how many people are taking a proton pump inhibitor? The little purple pill, 24 hours of relief. Yeah, it will give you 24 hours worth of relief. It'll also deplete your body of minerals, cause cardiac arrhythmias, and increased risk of esophageal cancer. And don't worry, you can take the Zantac, except that's been proven to cause cancer now. So now there's a ton of lawsuits there. Insanity. Okay, now glyphosates. It was patented as a mineral chelator. Without minerals, you cannot utilize your vitamins. Without minerals, you can't utilize your vitamins. So if you have low stomach acid, guess what? Doesn't matter how many vitamins you're taking. Then we got the Medulla Oblongata. Am I the only one that saw Waterboy? I guess I'm the only one that liked it, okay? Or that's going to admit that I liked it. Okay, the top bone of the neck. Now you'll see up here on the left, skull's up here. The C1 is a circle, okay, and it surrounds the brainstem. Now, when you look at the side, you can't really see in between, right? And that's the normal X-ray on the right. You can't see. That C1 looks just like this. Now, if I twist my hands, you'll be able to see the hole. Yes? Okay, that hole is a twisted C1 surrounding the brainstem. This is the cardiac and respiratory center. We'll see this on chronic migraines, on asthma, breathing problems, high blood pressure, all sorts of things. And this is super, super common. But it does take an upper cervical X-ray and upper cervical technique to correct it. What kind of drug will fix that? Oh, none. Okay, so let's look at this. When you're taking an X-ray, what we look at is the hard palate. Now, see that red line up there? Okay, that hard palate. Now, hard palate can move up to 15 to 20 degrees without changing the curve in the neck. And that's what we're looking at to get accuracy. So when people say, hey, look, you know, that is a good change, but the guy's palate's elevated. Yeah, it's less than 20 degrees. It's fine. It works. Okay, eye strain headache. Want a totally cool exercise to knock out eye strain? Yes or yes? Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, because I want to do it. Okay. Okay, so when you're looking far away, your pupils dilate. So they dilate for distance to get more light in. When you're looking close, they're going to constrict. Okay, and that constant constriction of the pupils can be uncomfortable. So do this, and unless you're driving, don't do it, okay? If you're driving and you do this, that's really, really bad. Okay, so you cover your eyes as dark as you can make it, as dark as you can make it. That's one person. Come on, come on, come on. You're all wearing masks and 6 foot away from each other. Okay, so you put the, so you keep it dark as you possibly can. Okay, now, keep it dark, but open your eyes and try and focus in on the inside of your hands. Just try and focus in, even though it's dark, try and focus in. That focusing in is going to dilate. And can you feel the relaxing effect on your eyes? Isn't that a trip? Okay, good. Yeah. I think that's cool. Okay, so that's what you're doing. And all you got to do, see the muscles inside of the eye, they're smooth muscle. They recover super fast. Like if you work a skeletal muscle hard, you got to rest it for, you know, a long time. If you work these hard, you only got to rest it for around 35 to 40 seconds. So you sit in the dark room, 35 to 40 seconds, bam, you're good to go to study more. Then we look at this one again, reverse curve to restored curve. Can you see anything that might be a negative on the dental area? Yeah. And then we'll look at this and we'll see a massive gut inflammation and we'll say, look, dude, you've been poisoned. Okay, now sinus headaches. And this is super, super cool. And one of the most commonly missed headaches, you apply a hand in the back, hand in the front, and squeeze together. And that should not feel better at all. But since you've got 6 sinuses back here, if they're inflamed, they're trying to explode or expand your skull. This is why we do facial adjustments here. And so that counter pressure will feel better. And I got to tell you, sinuses is one of the most commonly missed causative factor of migraines. And even with, I had this one kid, 10 years old, on the autism spectrum scale, very stoic kid, okay, you know, just really serious. And I go, buddy, what do you like to do? Play. You know, all one-word answers. So it was just like, okay, I like this kid already. And so I went up and I said, buddy, can I put my hand on your head? And you know, he's looking like he says, yeah. So I squeeze his head and he goes, ah. And it was, I mean, his parents looked at him because he always had this like stern, just focused look. And he'd been hurting forever. He had nothing to compare to. This pain that he was suffering from, he thought was normal. And to have somebody equalize the pressure and instantly get that off, it was like, oh my God, this is great. So that's a good way to identify it. And then understand that the nerves that supply those sinuses, if those are hypersensitive, like has anyone ever, their arm ever fallen asleep? Yeah, every guy in here is going to say, you betcha, man, when my arm's around my girl, I'm not going to move that sucker till it gets numb and falls off. Yeah, but when it comes back, what's it feel like? It's all pins and needly, right? That's because when you pinch a nerve, it gets more sensitive. So if you have that C1 that's spun like this, or some other type of upper cervical subluxation, the nerves that those supply, it's going to be hypersensitive. But then let's take in the 72 doses of 17 different vaccines that the kids are exposed to, all which cause an inflammatory response. So we see a hypersensitivity of the mucous membranes. Okay, so we're looking at a massive rise in sinus and allergies and asthma and all that stuff. And so you got to restore the nerve supply, get adjusted. Spicy foods help because they're vasodilators. Water will help because it'll thin the mucus. Facial adjustments, absolutely important. And fresh pineapple works great. But you can also, have you ever had an ice cream headache?
Yeah.
Anybody? Okay, what that is the soft palate in the back of the throat tightens up, and then you get that massive pain because it's like pulling the sphenoid bone, which goes across your eyes. Give yourself a reverse ice cream headache. That means you take water hot, almost as hot as tea, but not too hot, and you're going to drink it, but hold it in your mouth. That'll relax that soft palate, and it'll actually ease off some of the pressure on a sinus headache. Stress headaches. Now, normally, an ear should be aligned with the shoulder. This is normal. This is forward head carriage. Now, for every 1 inch the head's forward, the pressure on the disc double. Now, is the body smart or smart?
Smart.
Yeah, I know. And most doctors, are they smart or stupid? No, we're not going to go there. The body is smart, okay? Now, if you get that head forward, all of these muscles, they're called postural muscles, are going to fire off to pull that head back. Now, if you relax these, which way is the head going to go? Boom, further forward. And so we'll get people in there that go, gee, doc, my neck is always sore. And I think, well, yeah, you're putting your head forward, spasming out the muscle, then trying to rub it to irritate it further. That is not smart. Yeah, but no, stop it. No, but stop it. I mean, no, I won't hit patients unless they really deserve it. Okay, so all of these, so in order to relax the muscles, what do? Restore the curve. It can't be that easy, but it's true because these muscles don't have conscious control. And there's a couple of exercises I'm going to show you, but I'm going to show you one thing really cool, the referred trigger point headache. Ipsilateral trigger point headache, and what that means is if it's pain over one eye, okay, but on that side, the same side where that pain is, between the neck and the shoulder, halfway there's going to be a golf ball size, about half a golf ball right in between the shoulder. So now let's say it's over the right eye. You feel that with your left arm, hook your hand and pull it down and put pressure there. And that'll actually help. After about 30 seconds to a minute, referred trigger point headache works really good. And that works if you have to finish and complete tasks that you're working on a computer. Okay, it works really well. If it's the left side, bam, it's the left one. Okay, pull it down. Now, it's better to restore the curve in the neck. And you can see, why do you think that guy on the left had a referred trigger point headache? His body's off to the side like this. That would be probably a clue that all the muscles on this side would be screaming to reposition him. Gee, intelligent body. Abnormal posture, normal posture. So again, we're looking at abnormal to normal. Arc of life, this goes on Parkinson's. When you see that head going forward, the spinal cord doesn't stretch well. That's pulling on the brain stem. And so when you see, how many people with Parkinson's walk around like this? No, like this. Because there had to be an incident of trauma. I've never in my life seen a person with Parkinson's that had a good curve. So there's some kind of trauma where that's pulling on the brainstem. Then the body starts to do these motions to generate dopamine. That's what movement does. Have you ever seen a teenager bouncing their leg? Yeah, they're trying to generate dopamine. I mean, here's a before and after for a person that used to have Parkinson's or did have at the time. This seems so simple. We want to get the curve back in the neck. Can it be that simple? It can. I mean, what I developed is, oh, you know what? Here. Okay, this is technology amazing. This is a nylon strap, okay, that we used to use for rock climbing. There's pipe insulation in here, surrounded by a nylon covering, okay? The batteries, no, there's no batteries. Your hand goes in here. You can do this with a towel. You can do this with anything. Around the base of the neck, you don't pull out. You pull straight down with about 2 pounds of pressure. Point your chin to the ceiling, and then look straight ahead and relax so you're not bending back. Now, if you have a reverse curve, if you have sclerotic plaquing, if you're taking a ton of drugs, okay, which can damage the arteries, don't do this until you talk to your chiropractor. If your medical doctor has never seen anything that'll restore a neck, tell them to get a friggin' dish towel, try it on his patients, and they'll feel better. Also, this is fantastic. Now, you know, when you were 12 years old, you're watching TV like this. Okay, you could do this on your desk. You know, when you're typing something, just put your elbows on the kitchen counter or desk or whatever, lift your chin up and deep breathe for 5 minutes. That will get the curve in the neck back. Oh, one of my patients asked, because I keep talking about arthritis and bone spurs, and this is before bone spur, after it just starts to fade away. There's a law called Wolff's Law, bones lay down where it's needed, resorb where it's not. Degenerative disc disease is not a disease, it's not degeneration, it's just the body adapting and trying to stabilize. So there's about 3 people that said, please show us there. Okay, drugs, headache drugs can give you a headache. There's a drug called Imitrex, which is just psychotic, okay? It increases your pain, but then you have to use it. Here, the first one's free. Why? Does anybody think you have lack of medications in your diet that's causing the headaches? No, let's treat the body nice. Cholesterol drugs. What do we know about cholesterol drugs? Well, it increases hardening of the artery and heart failure. In the brain is where I think 25% of all your overall body cholesterol is. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, heart failure, high blood pressure. Fruits and vegetables are good for you. No, you're supposed to say, whoa! No one ever told me that. Mom! No. It's true. 1 serving of fruits and vegetables. It helps your blood. It really does. Cayenne pepper. Now, if you can't tolerate spicy foods, take this for sure with food. Never take it on its own. Do you know why? Me and my youngest son tried it on its own. You won't die, but you'll want to. I mean, it's like pain like you can't believe, but if you take it with food, fantastic vasodilation. There's a really good book on this, and it's called Left for Dead, a guy with a failed coronary bypass. Now, this is part of your handout, and you're going to see different ways to identify the sinus, the migraines, the cervical strain, eye strain, allergies, all of that. It's pretty much get to the chiropractor and they'll fix it. And then hydrate, take appropriate nutrients. It's all in there. And so the physical, chemical, and emotional stress, that is what everybody in America is suffering from right now. Okay? And if they take charge of their own health, we'll be okay. You know, don't just watch the standard news. Okay, look at the independents. Okay, look at Del Bigtree, Highwire. Look at, Robert Kennedy. I was talking to him yesterday, and I'm thinking, how can you do this? Because every time I go on Children's Health Defense, there's another article, and it's good and referenced. And he says he works all the time. No kidding. The friggin' guy's a genius. Okay, Extreme Health Academy. Get on there, YouTube, and we're also on BitChute. So when they wipe out the internet, which is probably going to be coming up in the next few months, because remember back in well, no, you don't, because those videos were wiped out. They were censored, but what I said on the censored videos is I'm not afraid of the virus because I'm human. I have around 380 trillion viruses in my body, in my cells, on my skin, in my hair. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll hug later. So I know viruses. They're part of me. They're 50% of my DNA. I mean, it's just like, that's not a big deal. They're either really, really deadly and not infectious, or really infectious and not that deadly. So you strengthen your immune system. You know, and when you see somebody wearing a mask, say, okay, how long are you going to wear that? What type of security do you need? What type of assurances do you need to take the mask off? Or are you going to wear it every time there's a flu season? Okay. Bam! Just break their skull open a little bit. So when we put up this stuff, the 5 keys to health, that's what you need. You don't need to be afraid of anything. All you got to do is be proactive and know that you're designed to live here, and we're designed to live as a community. Separating us, I mean, you couldn't ask for somebody wanting to initiate martial law more than what our leaders have done to create this type of psychotic environment. I mean, I couldn't think of anything better. You know, maybe drug the population? No, that's in the done column, okay? Maybe isolate them, give them no hope of the future. Say, okay, we're going to open up by Easter. No, not anymore. Okay, we're going to open up by May 1st. Not anymore. Okay, and then you got some idiots saying that we're never going to open up. This is the new normal. Right. Okay, there's a person that's never been in business. Let's take charge of our health and charge of our life. Does that make sense? Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.